You are standing in an open field somewhere in occupied Europe, the ground trembling beneath your boots. The distant rumble begins almost too faint to recognize, blending with the wind moving across ruined farmland. At first, it sounds like thunder rolling beyond the horizon, distant, harmless, almost natural. Then the sky itself begins to grow louder. Soldiers look up instinctively, scanning through heavy clouds that reveal nothing yet, only the growing certainty that something unstoppable is approaching. Moments later, dark shapes emerge high above, impossibly distant, completely untouchable. And in that instant, German soldiers begin to understand that the battlefield has changed forever. The greatest danger is no longer in front of them, but above them. For much of the early war, German forces believed they understood combat better than anyone else. Blitzkrieg tactics had shattered defenses across Europe with terrifying speed. Victory came through coordination, surprise, relentless momentum. Warfare was controlled on land, tanks advancing, infantry maneuvering, artillery preparing the way forward. Aircraft existed to support these movements, not dominate them entirely. To many commanders, air power was important, but secondary. That assumption would soon prove dangerously outdated. When the United States entered the war, it introduced something fundamentally different. American planners did not prepare for short victories or limited campaigns. They prepared for endurance. Factories across the United States began producing aircraft in numbers previously unimaginable. Machines designed not only to fight, but to survive repeated punishment. Heavy bombers crossed oceans, escorted by fighters capable of traveling farther and higher than enemy planners had anticipated. Yet early encounters did not immediately inspire fear. German troops often watched Allied aircraft pass overhead without fully grasping what was coming next. At first, bombing campaigns appeared inconsistent. Some formations were intercepted successfully. Anti-aircraft batteries filled the sky with explosions, and German fighters claimed victories against incoming bombers. Reports suggested Allied losses were heavy, perhaps unsustainable. But subtle changes soon appeared. Bombers returned again, and again, and again. Each mission grew larger, each formation better protected. Slowly, soldiers on the ground noticed something deeply unsettling. Air attacks were no longer isolated events. They were becoming constant. Convoys moving during daylight suddenly attracted devastating strikes. Rail yards functioning one morning lay in ruins by afternoon. Fuel depots vanished beneath waves of explosions delivered from altitudes beyond effective retaliation. German troops adapted instinctively, hiding vehicles beneath trees, traveling only after sunset, dispersing formations that once moved confidently across open terrain. A quiet question spread among frontline units. How could an enemy strike anywhere, at any time, without warning? The answer arrived with escort fighters that transformed aerial warfare completely. American aircraft no longer appeared briefly before retreating. They stayed. Fighters accompanied bombers deep into occupied territory, engaging interceptors far from Allied bases. Pilots who once attacked bomber formations freely now faced aggressive resistance high above Europe. Air superiority did not arrive suddenly. It emerged through persistence. Every engagement forced German defenses to react faster, expend more fuel, take greater risks. Then came the psychological shift. Soldiers recognized the sound before the sight, engines growing louder long before aircraft became visible. The thunder of approaching formations created immediate tension across entire units. Work stopped. Conversations ended. Men searched desperately for cover even before identifying targets. Fear was no longer tied to combat itself, but anticipation. The waiting became its own form of exhaustion. American air power expanded beyond bombing alone. Fighter bombers struck transportation networks, bridges, armored columns, and supply routes with relentless precision. Troops moving toward the front discovered roads cratered beyond use. Reinforcements arrived late, or never arrived at all. Entire operations stalled because fuel and ammunition could not safely reach advancing forces. Commanders increasingly faced battles already decided before ground combat even began. The turning point came when Allied aircraft achieved sustained dominance over contested regions. Any concentration of vehicles risked immediate destruction. Soldiers reported feeling permanently observed, as though the sky itself had become hostile territory. Traditional courage offered little protection against attacks delivered at incredible speed from unseen heights. By the later stages of the war, adaptation replaced confidence. Movement shifted to nighttime. Camouflage intensified. Operations slowed despite mounting pressure. Yet these measures merely delayed the inevitable. American industrial strength ensured aircraft losses were replaced almost immediately, while continuous improvements extended range and survivability. German forces faced an opponent capable of maintaining relentless pressure without exhaustion. What made American air power truly feared was not a single aircraft or a single battle, but inevitability. Bombers would return tomorrow. Fighters would patrol again. Supply lines would remain exposed. The battlefield no longer ended at the horizon. It extended upward into uncontested skies, controlled by an enemy impossible to escape. And so we return to that open field beneath a trembling sky. The growing roar overhead signals more than an incoming attack. It marks the moment modern warfare entered a new era, one defined by endurance, technology, and industrial strength operating far beyond individual resistance. For countless German soldiers, fear of American air power was not born from myth or propaganda, but from experience repeated until denial became impossible. The war on the ground continued, but victory increasingly belonged to those who controlled the sky.